I am a stonemason. At the moment, I'm working with the Centre for Alexandrian Studies on a project for the preservation and restoration of En-Nabi cistern, so that it might be open to the public in the future. My role will be to direct the restoration work for this cistern. For now, we are drawing the architectural layout of the building to have a precise picture of its present state before starting the actual work. I'm a member of the Association des Compagnons Passants, that is, Association of Journeyman, a school of apprenticeship for craftsmen, and in order to graduate as a journeyman, once my Tour de France is over, I must complete a masterwork. I chose to build an element of Islamic architecture, a mihrab. It has been 6 months since I started doing some research work and thinking around the project. I think I will need about 1,000 hours to cut and mount the stones, which means 6 to 7 months' work. The mihrab is the niche oriented towards Mecca in the Qibla wall of a mosque. Mihrabs, most of the time, are made of marble and granite, or more precisely, marble marquetry. The mihrab that I'm making is a creation inspired by various architectural elements. What interested me most was the technical challenge to prove my competence to my fellow craftsmen. This is why my work is a mixture of many styles, inspired by various buildings from different periods, each with their own difficulties. For example, one of the main problems was to find the determining thread of the pattern and the stereotomy of the makarna that inspired me. Stereotomy is the science of stone and wood cutting in the building industry. Before starting to carve, I must first design and draw each block. I do this on computer. This allows me to print the cutting patterns of the stones that I'll need to build the mihrab. It also allows me to work out a precise order form of the stone I'll need from the quarry. The idea of making a mihrab as my admission project came to me during my first year in Egypt. At that time, I was working at Karnak Temple, and I often had the opportunity to visit Cairo and spend time there. It was after many different walks in the city that I fell in love with Islamic architecture. Creating a piece of Islamic art is an original idea compared with what is usually chosen as an admission project. Usually the subjects relate to Gothic or Romanesque art. The stone I have chosen is called Hashimi, a type of limestone. This stone is found to the south of Cairo in the Shaq al-Taban quarries. This is the same stone that was used principally for religious and civil buildings in medieval Cairo. What is remarkable about this stone is the fact that it offers a vast range of colours from light beige to dark red. But it isn't easy to work because it is a very heterogeneous stone, with a lot of naturally occurring holes and many tiny pieces of flint. I bought the stones cut in order to minimize the work at the workshop. I think I'm going to have the columns turned as well. This will save me some time. It wasn't easy to find a convenient place to work, but in the end, I found a workshop near downtown, in an artist's village, housed in an old slaughterhouse. It is very difficult to find good tools for stone cutting and carving in Egypt, so I had to forge most of them myself. Chisels, crowbars, shouta, mash hammer. I forged my tools at the Fouad site in Alexandria, with the help of a fellow stonemason who's been living in Egypt for 7 years now. The mash hammer helps me to break the stone roughly, to remove a lot of unwanted matter all at one go. The shouta helps me to work more finely and to set up the faces. The toothed chisel is a tool that also helps to hew the stone roughly, but in a more precise manner. The crowbar is simply a lever that helps to move the stone more easily. Historically, the compagnonnage, this form of apprenticeship, is said to date back to the 12th century. But legend has it that it actually began on the construction site of King Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. During our Tour de France, apprentices must move each year to learn new techniques related to the materials available in each different place. This knowledge is transmitted by more experienced craftsmen, and we, in turn, will transmit it to the younger ones. I started my Tour de France when I was 20 at Nîmes in the south of France. I was apprenticed for 2 years to a company that restored fireplaces and old Provençal farmhouses. Then I went to Belgium, to Huy, a small town to the south of Liège, where I worked on the restoration of Our Lady's Collegiate Church. After that, I spent a year in Ireland, working in a workshop, doing sculpture. Then I spent 2 years in Egypt, working on the Karnak temple site, where I was site manager on the reconstruction of the festival court of Thutmose IV. Finally, I came back to France for 6 months, and there I held the post of site foreman for the restoration of the Bosquet des Trois Fontaines in the Palace of Versailles. And now, here I am in Alexandria, 7 years after the beginning of my Tour de France, working with the Centre for Alexandrian Studies. When I started my work, I hired 2 Egyptians to help unload the stones from the truck. They were quite puzzled by what I wanted to do, so I explained to them, and they kindly offered to help me, and, in exchange, I would teach them the tricks of the trade. Usually, these projects are followed by an evaluation, which means that more experienced craftsmen, those who have been admitted some years before, come to judge the quality of the work. Since my work has been done in Egypt, things will probably be a bit different. I'll send photos of the site and the completed piece, and the craftsman will judge the quality of my work from these pictures. Since the goal of admission projects is not to make money, I'll offer mine to the Association of Artists that so kindly housed me in their premises, the Association L'Atelier, and I'll show it in the courtyard located by the artist's workshop. To inaugurate the work, it is planned that on the first Friday of the month, the artists belonging to the association will gather together to pray in front of the mihrab.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح.